right, what is up, everybody? We are live with Beyond the Game episode number 5, Cinco. Big episode because I got hair transplant surgery and I'm finally not wearing a hat. I look a little funny. With the front of my hair looks a little strange, but it's growing in, so not too bad. A lot to talk about. National Card Show is freaking crazy. I was only able to be there for 2 days, but it's wild. The National Card Show is crazy. I think it's funny because sports cards keeps getting bigger. The price of sports cards has since the pandemic has fallen in about half. Like the market is still up since the pandemic, before the pandemic, by a lot. But the shows keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but the price of cards is down since. I don't really know what to think of that. It's kind of weird. Um, but let's start off this podcast with some questions. So Chris says, "What is the easiest way to visually grade and choose from a vintage collection? Also, who, in your opinion, is the best card grading company and why?" Um, okay, so two different questions there. So, okay, so to be honest with you, I've only ever bought one vintage collection ever, and it's just really difficult to know if vintage cards are real or not. Like that, that's the biggest thing. Like vintage cards are faked a lot of the time, and it's like so small. I have a friend. His name is Justin. When I was buying a lot of vintage cards, thanks JD Baseball Cards for saying my hair's coming in strong. Um, but so, I don't even know, I still really if you put a 1952 Topps mantle in front of me, if someone's good at faking, it's gonna be hard to see. So I would just ask an expert. If you go to any card shop, they'll be able to tell you if it's fake or not. So you wanna be asking an expert if it's fake. Um, like, anything anything vintage that's worth any amount of money is worth grading. So, because you'll have a raw, I don't know, it's just an example. Like a raw Gaudy Babe Ruth, not great, it's $500 and a two's 8,000, right? So because like different than modern cards, vintage cards, people are concerned that they're fake. So the minute they're graded, what that tells everybody is it's not fake because a grading company will only grade a vintage card if it's not fake, and that increases the value along with the grade. So you want to make sure it's not fake. Honestly, I'm not even the person to ask for that. I would recommend going to a card shop in your local area or asking an expert. That's what I did when I bought a lot of vintage cards. I'll go over that story um, maybe later in this podcast. Maybe I'll do it now, Chris. So I'll kind of tell you my experience with vintage cards, and maybe it could help you. So it was back in 2016, no, back in 2015, 2016, October of 2016. I was pledging a fraternity. I went to Rutgers University. Rutgers University is in New Jersey, which I find is weird because I live in Florida and there's people that don't know what Rutgers is, and I'm like, really? It's like as big as Penn State. But anyways, continue on with the story. So I went on for some reason, right? I always buy and sell sports cards on Craigslist, right? On eBay, excuse me. Like that's the place to buy and sell sports cards. That's where I buy most of my cards. Easiest place to buy selling cards. And for some reason, I was pledging a fraternity. I got home at 1 a.m. Because they make you do all sorts of stupid shit. I got home and I was like, like for some reason, let's see if there's any sports cards on Craigslist. I don't know why I did that. No idea. And I found a lot of old vintage cards on Craigslist. And I never bought a vintage card before in my life at this point. I was brand new into sports cards. I was like a year in. And I called my buddy Dylan. Dylan is the one who introduced me and got me into sports cards. And I called him and I was like, hey, what do you think of these cards? I sent him a picture. And Dylan went to University of Pittsburgh. And he was like, yo, whoa, I think you have something here. Like, whoa, let's check this out seriously. So we contacted our friend Justin, who's an expert with vintage cards, and he was like, yeah, man, I think these are real. And there were tons of cards in there, like a 1951 Bowman Mantle, like 5 Hank Aaron rookies, like Willie Mays, like anything you could ever imagine. So we drove up to a town in Connecticut called Torrington, Connecticut. And there was a comic card shop, antique shop there called, what was it called? My Mother Threw Mine Away. You guys could look it up on Google. It's permanently closed now. I think the founder, maybe it passed away. And we got there with all the cash we could gather because we didn't know how much it would cost. We went there with $15,000. And we were like, "Hey, we showed up. We were interested in the cards." And he explained to us that he was Jack, the owner of the shop, was about 65 years old, and he said he would get these cards graded to make money on it, but he wanted to retire. And it was very evident that he was probably worth millions of dollars based on the stuff in the shop. I mean, this guy had comic books and antiques and stuff he's been holding forever and ever and ever, that is just worth so much more now. So, um, he was like, because like I was trying to figure out like why not grade this stuff and make money yourself, but it was a real answer. So he showed us all the vintage cards. There are thousands of them, and he picked out what he thought were like the most expensive ones, like 40 or 50 of them. Cards that were worth like $50, $100, $200. A 1951 Bowman Mantle that's worth 1,000. A 1930 something cracker Babe Ruth. I forgot what it was. Maybe there was a Gaudy Babe Ruth in there. Rookie Willie Mays. All sorts of crazy stuff. And so he had that side of cards, like, you took them out. Then there were the not base cards, but like the common vintage cards, like in a long thing, like a long thing of cards. There were thousands and thousands of them. And my buddy and I were going through all the common cards, and Jack maybe didn't see them or just didn't care. We found like four Hank Aaron rookies, an extra Bowman 1951 Mantle, like tons and tons of cards. And honestly, we had no idea what this stuff was worth. We never really bought vintage cards at the time. And long story short, we were kind of doing the math. We thought maybe if we got everything graded, we could sell it for like $30,000 to $40,000. And we Jack said he wanted 15,000, which we knew was a decent deal at least. We ended up coming to an agreement of 11,500. I remember we kept like walking outside the sports card shop, like talking amongst each other, like, should we do it? Like, what should we pay? Then we walk back in, negotiate, then we walk back out, then walk back in. It was like a whole 30-minute process. Finally, we bought everything for $11,500. And there was some crazy, crazy stuff in there. Like, there was like, for example, there were three 1953 Topps Mickey Mantles, which is Mickey Mantle's second year. So 1952 Topps Mantles, like the best card, and then 1953's second year. But whoever this grandpa was, whoever owned these cards, whoever it was, took these 1953 Mickey Mantles and actually got them signed by Mickey Mantle. I never saw these before. No one had any idea what they were worth. They were probably worth a lot of money at the least. And anyways, we took everything home. We dumped everything on the floor, figuring out what's worth to get graded, what's not worth to get graded. And long story short, we sold all this stuff. There were thousands of cards that we deemed that were not worthy to get graded. We gave it to our buddy Justin for a good deal of $6,000, because he helped us out a lot, like knowing what stuff was worth, if it was real or not. So we gave him a good deal. He probably made good coin on it. Then we sent in about 100 cards to get graded. And when these cards came back, so remember, we paid $11,000 for everything. And when these cards came back, there was like, just for example, like there were three 1953 Topps Mantles that were signed. We sold each one for 4,000 each one. So we were already in the green before selling like 90 other cards, by a few grand. And long story short, we sold everything for about $40,000, paid 11,500 for it. And that was kind of like my first like, I guess big win, or it showed me that like you could actually make a real income with sports cards. So that was like that's like my one experience with vintage cards. Pretty crazy story, like, and honestly, nothing like that has ever happened again, because I always told myself, I'm like, maybe Craigslist is the move. And you want to hear something even crazier? So about a month later, after we sold all those cards, I went on Craigslist again, and I was like, I wonder if there's anything that I could buy. And I found something insane. I found a 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruth signed by Babe Ruth, and it looked real. It said "Sincerely Babe Ruth" on the card. And now autographs are like, on cards is a common thing, but back then it was not. Like, getting the autograph of a player was kind of like a foreign concept, right? So like that's why there's not that many Babe Ruth autographs. And like Mickey Mantle, for example, has tons of autographs. This is a little cheat code about Mickey Mantle. But like, if you ever see Mickey Mantle's autograph, the one you see, it's got a nice little loop by the M. At the bottom of the M, there's a nice loop. And Mickey Mantle did a lot of signings in the 1990s because he was like a drunk, probably broke, needed money, so signed a lot. However, Mickey Mantle had a different autograph from the 1950s where the M in his name was like just a regular M. That autograph is worth, I mean, 100 times more, like 1,000 times more probably, like 100 grand at least. At least I saw a baseball that was going for a few hundred grand of Mickey Mantle's old autograph from the 50s. So, like these autographs from the 50s were not common. And I found this card of Babe Ruth, his 1933 Gaudi, actually signed by Babe Ruth. And I remember I was in New Brunswick, New Jersey, because that's where I went to college, in New Brunswick, which is the central Jersey. And this guy on Craigslist has said he lived in Flemington, New Jersey. And I got in contact with him. I was texting him, and he's told me he wanted a few grand for the card. I knew it was a steal, but he told me he was moving to Nashville next week. So we were texting back and forth. We were negotiating. He just went ghost on me. Never heard from him again. I contacted him. I called him. Tried my best. I could not get in contact with him ever again. Okay, and I could have. He wanted a few grand for the card. 2 years later, I was at a card show in White Plains, New York, which is like called the East Coast National. It's like, I guess, the biggest card show in New York. And I saw the same card. I shit you not, the same exact card I was negotiating for. And the guy was asking $125,000, and it was graded a PSA like 1 or PSA 2, but that's not the point because it was graded. The autograph was real. And that was before the pandemic. That card now is probably worth 3, 4, $500,000. Who knows? I probably would have sold it by now. But that's my second vintage and Craigslist story. That one was almost a huge win, but I was close, but just couldn't get there. I just never. I still don't know what happened to that guy. I have no clue. So pretty wild story. Um, but Chris, I took your question and went a long way with it. Sorry, but yeah. So get the vintage stuff authenticated. Get someone to look at it that knows a lot more than you. And you said, who is your opinion? Who in your opinion is the best grading company and why? PSA. I mean, that's not really an opinion. Just like a PSA 10 sells for way more than just any other grading company, a card graded at 10. What's interesting about that is PSA, like Beckett used to be above PSA with the modern cards. Like when I first got into sports cards, PSA was like the place to send like really like low end cards or vintage, and Beckett was the place for modern cards. But what ended up happening is, and I honestly I don't even know what happened. But like Nat Turner bought PSA right around when the pandemic started, and PSA just took off like a rocket ship, and Beckett just absolutely sank. I think Beckett maybe was taking too long to get their cards back. They started charging people a lot of money. And now like a Beckett 9.5 is, I see sometimes it's worth like half a PSA 10. Back in the day, a Beckett 9.5 is worth more than a PSA 10 a lot of the time with modern cards. And Beckett was way easier to get a 9.5. And yeah, it's so that's so to answer your question, PSA, Beckett used to be it, but now honestly, I'd probably say like PSA then like SGC and Beckett are tied for second. But it depends. I mean, you don't need to listen to me. Just go like on eBay and look at the completed sales and see like if I'm gonna buy this card, does it sell best in a PSA 10? Does it sell best in an SGC 10? The answer is gonna be a PSA 10 a lot of the time. So hopefully that helps you out, Chris. Um, Mikey says, this is always an interesting question. How to tell the difference between refractors, ice, cracked ice, what are relics? Too many different variations of cards. Which colors are the best to look for? All right, that's a loaded question. All right. So honestly, the easy answer, like it's not easy. Like these cards look so similar, like a silver and a base. They just look similar. You just have to like look. That's my best answer. But which colors are the best to look for? So here's a nice little sports card history, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. So when sports cards first started to get big in like 2009, 2010, 2011, it started to pick up steam. Not like it is today, but it started to pick up steam. The best cards by far, especially when I got into sports cards in 2015, was baseball. Like back in the day, like I know sounds crazy to say out loud, but like football and basketball cards were like an afterthought. Now football cards are like the cream of the crop. But back in the day was an afterthought, right? Just no one like buying like a quarterback was like, are you crazy? Like football cards don't sell. Like it was, I know it sounds weird, but Bowman Chrome baseball was the best back in the day. And Bowman Chrome baseball back in the day had a few original colors. It had the base, it had the refractor, it had the blue number to 150, it had the gold number to 50, the orange number to 25, red number to 5, and superfract. Those were the base original colors, whatever you want to call it. And those colors, like the blue, gold, orange, red, those colors, because those are like the original colors, and collectors who are like original collectors were collecting back then, they still prefer them now. So like for example, what's this card? So like this is an orange prism PSA 10 number to 49 of Victor Wembanyama. Oranges and like the bold color of orange and the bold color of blue are way more liquid and people prefer them way more than like a orange shimmer, orange ice, or green shimmer. It goes back all the way to the original Bowman Chrome cards. Because people just really like them, and like the original collectors, you know how people are stubborn, right? They just want the original stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of like a quick history lesson. So the original colors, the best colors are like the original colors from Bowman Chrome: gold, blue, orange, red, and refractor, and like base. But like honestly, like it depends. Like with baseball, with Bowman Chrome baseball, that still carries true to this day. Like you'll see a blue number to 150 sell for higher than a green number to 99. I know. Sorry, I'm outside right now because there's noise going on in my apartment, and I live in Tampa, and there's a trolley that goes back and forth. But it sounds crazy, but like you'll have a, I don't know, like a Ronald Acuna 2017 Bowman Chrome number to 99. So there's only 99 of them in the world. That will sell for less than a blue number to 150. I know it makes no sense because why would a card with only 99 in the world sell for less than ones with 150 in the world? It's because the blue number to 150 just has higher demand. It has higher liquidity. People want it more. And that goes all the way back from the original Bowman Chrome, like when I first got into sports cards. So, and then as time went on, like 2015, 2016, 2017, Bowman Chrome and all these companies were like, well, sports cards getting really big. The more cards we can produce, the more packs we can make, more packs we could sell, the more money we can make, right? And that's when you start to see like greens and orange shimmer and this and that, and that's gotten crazy. Like this is like a new thing from this year. I believe it's this year, like 2023 Prism Glitter. Like I think they're just making stuff up now, glitter. Even though this card's pretty expensive, I paid $3,000 for it at the National Card Show. So yeah, pretty wild. But that's to answer your question. I know that was very in depth, Mikey, but those are the best variations to look for. Um, TJ says, with so many different cards available for each player, how do I know which ones are the best to buy and which ones will make me the most money on? Is buying cards from Amazon a good idea? So, buying from Amazon, probably not a good idea, to be honest with you. I've never done it, but I'd imagine it's probably not a good idea. The best ones to buy, so like lower lower price, like cards like 50 bucks, 100 bucks, like Prism are generally the best. You get the highest multipliers on it. It's not a lot of risk. So like those, just to give you like a basic answer, like those are the best to buy, grade, make money on, like lower end Prism. But like honestly, the great thing about it is you could just look. Like, for example, like this card, I know this card's expensive. This is just the only one I have on me. Like you could just look, like this card sells for like $5,000, and a PSA 10 is like $11,000, and that's it. Then you could just like, you just know, like, okay, like if I buy this card, this is what I can expect to sell it for. Now, like there's a few other things you might want to think about. Like for example, like I'm showing you a card of Victor Wembanyama because I just bought it, and I like Victor Wembanyama based on a bunch of data and factors that I was looking at. I anticipate his value to go up. So like when you're buying a card to get graded, right, you only want to be buying cards that are going to go up in value, not down in value, right? Because think about that logically for a second. If you buy a card and it's going to sit at grading for 1 to 2 months, you'd rather appreciate than depreciate. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, TJ. So those are a few of the questions that came in. What do you think about optic contender wide receiver autos? Good long investment. Probably not a good long term investment. Good to buy, grade, and make money on, if that's what you mean by investment. But receivers, it's very hard to hold like value. Like Puka Nakua, like I mean that's rare. Like he's like a phenom. Like that usually doesn't happen. In terms of long-term investment, no. To answer your question, I would not invest in optic contender autographs like of receivers. Like long term, like you want to be really buying quarterbacks. Like those are the ones that hold sustained value. And like once in a blue moon, you'll get someone like Justin Jefferson, who's like a first ballot Hall of Famer or something crazy like that. But like good luck, right? Like being a good receiver, there's so many factors. Like you need to have a good offense, a good coordinator, a good quarterback. It's like so like the answer is no. But cool. All right. So I want to go over some purchases with you guys that I bought at the National Card Show. These are interesting. So I'll go over a few of them. So I bought two of these. One of them I bought. One of them I traded in cash. Angel, answer your question in a second. But I mean, I basically bought both these for $9,000. Both these Wembenyamas. And now there's three sales of this card. 11,000, 11,000, and the last one about a month ago did 9,900. And there's an amazing tool called Market Movers you could use. Some of you guys who are in sports cards, you may have heard of the guy. His name is Jeff Wilson. Cool dude. I met him like once or twice. But I looked at the graph of Victor Wembanyama cards and basically what it looked like. I wish I could share my screen and show you guys, but I can't. It starts out really high, comes crashing down. It starts to level out, and it has actually in the past few weeks it started to go like this a little bit because they picked up Chris Paul, and Chris Paul's a really good pickup for someone like Wembanyama. And I used the last sale as a comp, which was before or right around he started to go up in value because they picked up Chris Paul. So like I paid 9,000 on the two of these cards, but the last sale was 9,900. But I only anticipated to go up more. So also I'm going to a few card shows, so I think I could trade it or probably trade dash cash for like 12,000. But yeah, so like I think I got a good deal to begin with, and the last sale was before he started to go up in value. So hopefully that makes sense. So that is the Wembanyama buy. The next buy I made, so I bought both these cards from a buddy for $6,000 total. Now this Burrow's pretty simple. One recently sold for about 50. I think it was 5,200. And then this Jalen Suggs, there's no recent sales, but a PSA 9 did, I think it was 1,300. So I value like this card at 2,000, the Burrow at 5,200, whatever the sale was. Like these cards are worth about like 7,200. The Suggs can maybe be worth a little bit more. And I paid 6,000. So I'm into it for about 80%. And the Burrow, I think I'll probably move it for around what I paid or what the last sale is. The Suggs, I could see the Suggs going up a lot in value because I could see like Paulo Banchero's value has been up a lot. And the Magic can be really good this year. Like they'll probably be a top 2 or 3 team in the East. Like they were the 4th seed last year. And I mean, like they were really young and they're still really young, which is why I think people are going to be really excited about them. And like Suggs is a huge part of that. Him, Wagner, Banchero. So I think the Magic are going to have a lot of hype and excitement. I mean, they're going to be really freaking good. I mean, I'm probably going to sell the card before the season, to be honest with you. But I think I'll make decent money on it. We'll see. Like some of these cards, like I'm buying good, I'm paying well. If I make a lot of money, great. If I break even, not really. Like because I'm paying so well and I'm buying things that I anticipate to appreciate by using data and stuff, I really don't see myself losing money unless something happens and a player gets hurt or God forbid. So that's that. And then I also bought this Brandon Miller glitter. So this is an interesting card. All right, so I've never bought one of these cards before. Now to be quite frank with you, I have no idea what these are worth. Like when I was thinking about buying it, and so what I did is I saw on eBay there were two sales of. Oh, the connection went out for a second. So there were two sales of 1,500 each of this Brandon Miller card, not graded. And I had no idea if that's what it should sell for, or if not. So what I did is I compared it to Victor Wembanyama. So Victor Wembanyama, his glitter card sells for about $6,000 to $7,000. So I was like, okay, like Wembanyama sells for $6,000 to $7,000. Brandon Miller sells for $1,500. Let's see if that math lines up. So then I compared a commonly sold card, their Silver Prism PSA 10s. Brandon Miller's does about 200. Wembanyama does about 1,000. So what that tells me is Wembanyama is worth about 5 times what Brandon Miller's worth, which makes sense, right? That makes logical sense. And so the math checks out. If Brandon Miller's probably is worth about 1,500, if Wembanyama is about 6,000 to 7,000. So then I was comfortable paying $3,000 for it. I think it's worth 3,500, maybe 4,000 if I get lucky. Maybe it'll go up in value. but I probably won't lose. That's the whole point. So I probably won't lose money on it, or I shouldn't. You never know with this stuff. That was kind of a risk. I wouldn't be surprised if I moved it for 5 grand. I wouldn't be surprised if I broke even on it. We'll see. We'll see with that one. A few other things I want to go over. So, by the way, Coach Crosby, I see your question. So, for beginners, what would you suggest as a good starting point to get in buying and selling sports cards? So, sports card, I'm biased. Obviously, you probably see my ads, and obviously, I have a program, and I've done it for a long time. So, like, this is a biased answer, but I do genuinely think buying and selling sports cards is the easiest, safest, most predictable way to actually start making money. And it's not bullshit. Like all this stuff I say in my ads is actually true. Like you don't need any softwares. There's no employees. It's simple. You can do it completely remote. It's just buying and selling cards, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. It's not. Right? I'm not teaching rocket science over here. And the great thing about sports cards, there's something called grading, right? Grading is something where you can literally double to triple the value of an asset in a few weeks to a month, right? So you don't need a big budget, Coach Crosby, to start making money with sports cards. You can like I started with $4,000, um, but you can start with like $500, buy a few cards for 50 to $100 each, get them graded. You should be able to double your money if you follow any of the videos or anything I say. Go on my YouTube. There's like a million trainings and a million videos on like what I look for when I buy cards and all sorts of stuff. And like, that's not going to make you rich. But if you buy a card for $100 and you get it graded and you make $100 profit on it, it sets a foundation like, oh shit, like this is not a scam. I can actually make money on it. Like this actually works. Like I remember the first card. So my dog is somewhere out here on this balcony. But the first card I ever bought, it was a little bit more expensive. It was of Steven Matz. Steven Matz is used to be a huge prospect on the New York Mets, and he was a pitcher. And I bought his orange Bowman Chrome on eBay for $500, which at the time, I had $4,000 to my name. $500 is a good chunk of that, right? That's like 1/8 my net worth. I have a huge tolerance for risk, so I guess that's why I did it. But I bought one of his cards, got it graded by Beckett. I sold for $888 the next week. You can't get cards graded that fast anymore. But it's not that that card made me $300 and that $300 changed my life. What changed my life is at the time, right, there's that dichotomy in my life. Like I was delivering pizza and I was making decent money, like 60, $70 cash going for 4 hours. That's pretty good. And also on this side, I clicked a few buttons on a computer and made about $300 with that Steven Matz card. And like it just clicked. I was like, whoa, like I don't have to trade my time in for money. I can leverage my time and get a much bigger output for my input, right? That's all life is. Like people say all the time, like, I want to have financial freedom and, have more time with my family and this, and that. All that means is you need a better output for the inputs you're putting in. A lot of you guys watching this have jobs, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but you're not getting a good return on your time, right? You can only make money when you're at your job. If you're not at your job, you're screwed, right? Unless you have your vacation days or whatever. But if you think about it logically for a second, like, and I'm not saying this to like bash on any employers or employees, but the person at the top, everyone hates the CEO because like, they make all the money. They don't pay their employees enough. Piece of advice to all you guys who have jobs, it's never enough money. There's never enough money. No matter how much you make, there'll always be like, oh shit, like I'm making 100 grand. Oh, maybe I'll buy that BMW. Maybe I'll live in a little bit of a nicer place. And now you're making 200 grand. Oh, you know what? Like I've always wanted to like buy a boat, and like it never stops. There's never enough money. Like just piece of advice. So like people who make 60 grand say it's not enough. People who make 150 grand say it's not enough. I talk to people all the time, every single day. So like little piece of advice. But like you just need to leverage your time better. That's what people really mean. When people say, I want financial freedom, what that really means is I want to leverage my time better. Like, there's no such thing on this planet that is purely passive. The only type of passive income there is when you have millions and millions of dollars and you just blindly dump it in the S&P 500. That's passive income, but also guess what? That's lazy income, and it's only going to make you like 8-9% a year. So like, take that how you want. Like, passive income does not exist. Okay, like it's bullshit. Like, trust me, it doesn't exist. There's more passive income where you leverage your time better. Like, I bought like, like this card of Victor Wembanyama because I could afford it from flipping all the cards I flipped in my life. Like, it took me about 5 minutes to buy that card, doing a deal with the person, and I should, you never know, like I should make a few grand on it. Like, that is leveraging my time. Like, I have like 30 employees. That is leveraging my time. I outsource a lot of tasks that are not a positive return on your time. So like, if you feel like you have a job and you want more time freedom to make more money, all that means is you want to leverage your time better. And the way to leverage your time better is to get a skill, whether that's buying and selling sports cards, whether that's flipping real estate, right? Because, like, think about flipping real estate for a second, right? You could flip one house, make 30, 40 grand. And you could do that once a month, twice a month as you build your capital and you get better and better at it. But the thing is, doing things that leverage your time, now the ball's in your court, right? So it's scary, it's risky because our whole lives, people have told us, get a job, get an education, all this bullshit. But what they don't tell you is you're 30, you're 35, 40 years old and you have a mortgage and you have kids. And, not that everyone hates their life, but I meet a lot of people that just feel so bored and like feel like life is just such a drag. And it's because you're just doing the same thing every day, but you have to do it because you have no other skills and you have to trade your time for money. You're always going to trade your time for money, but you just want to trade your time for more money. And the way to trade your time for more money is to control your income. The way to control your income is, guess what? You gotta develop a skill. Like, the skill I developed is buying and selling sports cards, and then it turned into digital marketing. And like, the skill you could develop is like, if you're looking to become rich, like, I wouldn't buy and sell sports cards. Like, sports cards, a realistic, easy way to make a few grand a month. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you you're gonna make millions of dollars. You could, but it's probably not gonna happen. Um, so like, that's what you need to think about yourself. And then it gets to the next step where it's like, okay, like, I need to develop this skill. So how do I do that? Well, the only way to do that is trial and error, which, like, good luck, you're gonna lose a lot of money and it's gonna cost you tons of time as well. Or you invest in a coaching program. And then that leads me into my world of coaching programs where it's like, there are no there's not really any coaching programs that are scams, right? Like, people say all the time, like, our coaching program scams. It's not. It's the same shit as college. Like, I've spent probably $250,000 on coaching programs. Okay, take it from me. No coaching program I've ever bought is a scam. Some are better than others. Just like, if you take geometry in high school, right? Some geometry teachers are better than others, but there's still the foundational information is there. It's what you decide to do with it. Like, if you join my program and you pay me money, I cannot and will not guarantee success. I can guarantee you the information I'm giving you comes from me, who's sold millions of dollars in sports cards profitably, and it's up to you what to do with it, right? Just like, you go to college, right? And if you go to college and, you take all these classes and you fail out, well, if you fail out, it's probably because you weren't studying, you were probably partying, you weren't doing your homework. So college is the same thing as a coaching program. They lay out the information. This is what the teachers say to do. You got to read this. You got to do this homework. You got to pass this exam. Some will, some won't. But like, what's funny about like college, because it's ingrained into society and people think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. When someone fails out of college, they blame themselves, right? They're like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't do my homework, or like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But when someone fails out of a coaching program, oh, the program was a scam. And like, the most ironic thing about it is like, a high ticket coaching program will run you like 4, 5, 6, 7, $8,000 in that area. But like, college is 50, 60, 80, 100 grand. And people are still like, this program was a scam because I didn't succeed. But that same person could have failed out of college and blame themselves. And even if the program is a scam and even if the program sucks, you get nothing in life from blaming other people. Always blame yourself, because that's only going to push you farther along. I went on an amazing date with this amazing girl on Sunday, and she brought up the topic of cheating. She told me she got cheated on, which sucks. Sorry. I'm not going to say her name, but sorry, that sucks. But if you get cheated on, this is a good like mindset thing. People say mindset is bullshit, but it's not. Like, mindset is where everything starts. Like, I credit myself with I've always had a tremendous mindset and outlook on life when it came to like making money and like investing in yourself and all that stuff. I have a ton of flaws. Like, I'm a degenerate. I love to gamble. I love to go out. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm the far from perfect. But when it comes to like investing in yourself and like an outlook on life, I think I have a very good outlook on life. And this is a good example. So some of you guys watching this, maybe you've been cheated on before. Let's say you're dating a girl for 6 months, right? Or a year. And let's say she cheats on you, right? Everyone's initial and first reaction is like, fuck that girl. She's a whore, blah, blah, blah. Blame them, blame them, blame them, which you should, right? You should blame them. It's not, you know, it's probably not your fault, but you get nothing from that, right? You literally get like if someone cheats on you, you could blame them and blow up their phone and beat up the person who cheated on them, sure. But what do you get from that, right? You gain absolutely zero. You gain nothing. Once you get over yourself after a few days, look in the mirror and say, okay, like, what did I do that was wrong? And how could I fix myself in the future? Right? That's the best way to actually advance in life. Like, for example, like if I have to fire an employee, which I've had to fire dozens of employees, even though like I could sit there and blame them, they didn't listen, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. That's not the right way to get better. I look at myself and say, what did I do wrong? Right? How can I get better from this situation? Always, 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 always blame yourself. People will respect you much more and you'll go farther along in the journey of making money or achieving time or financial freedom, right? Whatever your goal is, right? Like if I had to fire an employee, maybe I look back and say like, why did I even hire this person in the first place? What could I fix about my interview process? Or like, maybe I wasn't good at managing him. All right. Maybe I wasn't giving him proper numbers. Maybe the expectations were misaligned, what I told him in the interview and what he actually did, right? So like maybe it's the other person's fault, but always blame yourself, right? And if you want a great book for this, it's my favorite book. It's tattooed on my thigh. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Um, I love like self-help books and like productivity stuff. Um, Bottom line is always blame yourself. I don't know where this question came from. I don't know why I just went on that rant. But yeah, a nice little piece of advice because you will fail, but the question is like, how do you take that failure, right? And so many people just like blame, 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 blame themselves, and don't don't take any don't like or they blame others and don't blame themselves. And like I'll leave it off with like one last story to kind of drive this home. So we had a student join our program. Um, we had two students join our program actually on the same day, like our highest level program. Not cheap. And they both joined and they were both on their onboarding call with their coach. Okay. This is a true story. One guy was super about it, super optimistic, positive, like, ready to go, like, this, and that. And they both lived in California in the same county, ironically. And the other guy was like, just started to go crazy. Like, started to go fucking nuts. Like, this is a scam. I don't believe any of this shit. You guys just started going nuts. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And the guy was a bad fit. So we gave him a refund, said, hey, go your own way. Like, this is obviously not good. And same county, same state, joined the program on the same day in the same year. The guy with the positive outlook and put in effort made $8,000 in profit his first month. $8,000 in profit. The other guy made shit. He didn't make zero. Why? It starts with mindset. I'm telling you, like, mindset is a super important thing. Like, you have to be able to get over your family telling you you're a fucking idiot, or get over the fact that like you haven't made any progress in a month, right? Like, get over that shit because like everything is hard. You just have to force it to work, right? Like, and mindset, it really starts with mindset and like being stubborn. Like my best friend told me, you're the most successful person I know, but you're also the biggest idiot because you don't listen to anyone. To my detriment sometimes, sure, but I am very like I have tunnel vision. Like I believe in myself. I won't listen to others, and it's gotten me, pretty good places in life, I think. So that's my motivational Rocky Balboa speech for the day. But someone asked me what was my biggest purchase. So I bought two of these for $9,000. Two of these Victor Wembanyama cards. That was my biggest purchase. To answer your question. So a few other things I wanted to touch on before I end this. So something interesting that I do that I'm gonna start doing. I've done the past few years and it's worked well, but I haven't done it like a lot. Maybe because I've been scared. And this is back to sports cards. So baseball is an interesting buy right now. I'll tell you why. Right. So baseball is an interesting buy because like we're in like the shitter of the baseball season, right? There's not a lot of excitement. There's not a lot of hype. There's not a lot of like a few players are up, but like not a lot, right? Otani's up a lot, sure. But what you could do is look at market movers. Okay, market movers is the app where you can look at data and take someone like that is going to make the playoffs. That is going to make the playoffs, like Gunnar Henderson, right, shortstop on the Orioles. His value's down since the beginning of the season, and what you could do is buy him now, and either two things will happen, right? And especially you could buy his raw cards to get graded, right? So two things will happen: either A, they'll make a playoff push. They'll get into the playoffs. They'll start to play well. Maybe even if he doesn't play well and the Orioles play well, his value will go up, right? Which is great. Number two, even if it doesn't happen, let's say the Orioles get swept in the first round and he plays like shit, hold it to December, January, and it'll still go up, right? So it'll either go up sooner or later. But you're kind of giving yourself you're putting yourself in a very good position. Right. So something interesting that I'm gonna start to do. I'm gonna start to really mess around with baseball in the middle of the season right now. Buy some guys like Jackson Holiday is an interesting buy. Because his value dropped in half. He got to the majors. I think he went this could be wrong, but 1 for 30, something just horrific. And then he got shot back down to the minors. But yeah, I think that, but the problem with that is everyone who bought Jackson Holiday is into him for much more money than he's worth. So something interesting that I might start to do. And last thing I'll leave you guys off with is Fanatics Fest. So this is the first time Major League Profits, my company, are actually doing a live event. So if you guys don't know what Fanatics Fest is an event in New York City that Michael Rubin's putting on. And his theory, or the concept behind it, he's like, well, there's Comic-Con, which is massive for comic books, right? There's Coachella, which is massive for music, but there's no massive sports event. Not sports cards, sports event where people could go there and look at signings and autographs and memorabilia and get meet and greets and stuff like that. So he's putting on this thing in the Javits Center, which is a massive convention center right in the middle of Manhattan. And there's huge names coming, huge names like Tom Brady, Derek Jeter, massive names. And 80% of of this Fanatics Fest is meet and greets and probably fun games, stuff like that. However, 20% of it's actually a card show. So we're going there and setting up. I'm setting up to buy and sell my cards, and also we're setting up. I'm gonna have maybe 7, 8, 9, or 10 employees running around, talking to people about making money with sports cards, just helping people out, having a fun time. We'll have iPads set up where you could, give us your information. We'll send you free trainings, stuff like that. But if any of you guys are close to New York City, I'm not just telling you this to come so I could sell you into Major League Profits. I'm telling you this because it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll be attending that event. I'll be the first one. See how it goes. At the least, the cards will be probably great. The card show will probably be great. But yeah, I'll leave you guys off with that. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'm actually gonna start doing these podcasts twice a week. I didn't know they'd be such a hit, and you guys would like them so much. So I'm gonna start doing them Tuesday and then Friday as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this stuff. If you have any questions, like I said, just shoot me a message on Instagram. The date for the Fanatics Fest is Friday, August 16th. To Sunday, August 18th. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can just look it up. I don't know how much admission is. I didn't look. We bought a booth, like a exhibit booth or whatever. So it was obviously more expensive. I wouldn't imagine admission being more than $25. But the way they make money is through the signings. So to get a Tom Brady autograph and a picture, right? It probably won't be cheap, I would imagine. I'm not really into that stuff that much, so that's where they're gonna make their money. Maybe it might even be free to walk in. I doubt it, but yeah. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see all you guys in the next one.